Welcome to the High Value Sales Show of Eversprint.com. I'm Malcolm Louie, the managing member of Eversprint, and today we're speaking with Tim Wallace, the CEO of iPipeline, a provider of sales distribution software to the insurance and financial services markets. Welcome to the show, Tim.
Thank you, Malcolm. It's a pleasure to be here this morning.
Tim, you grew your company's revenue from $73 million in 2014 to $128.5 million in 2017, a 75% increase. And in 2018, you hit around $170 million. Before we talk about how you grew your company so fast, can you briefly share what your company does beyond my quick intro and how your company differs from the competition?
Yes, Malcolm. iPipeline is the leading provider of SaaS technology to the life and annuity industry. So we provide over 16 products, really, primarily starting with the interaction of the agent and the consumer, collecting information and doing CRM functions, all the way up through the supply chain. And life insurance has a very complex supply chain. It can be sold through multiple channels. It can be sold by agents. It can be sold direct to consumers. You can buy it in banks. You can buy it off your stockbroker. You can buy it through brokers and distributors in the financial community, financial institutions. So there's multiple channels, and our software actually connects that supply chain all together. And it is a industry that is regulated on a state basis, so there are a lot of compliance issues that we have to deal with that data and that supply chain as we automate it. But for the most part, we allow life insurance to be sold in the United States in a very automated fashion. We have very few competitors. Most of our competitors actually have maybe one module versus our complete suite of technologies that provide an end-to-end platform for the industry. And we're by far recognized as the #1 leader in providing this type of technology solution in the industry. It's a position we've worked 20 years to get to. We're very proud of what we've accomplished. And our customers really treat us as a strategic partner versus a vendor or just a technology supplier.
Right. Now, why haven't your competitors, seen, surely they've seen your success. Why haven't they added all the other modules to be more competitive?
I think some of them are now trying to after they've watched us succeed. The challenge is that it's very hard to penetrate our account base because of the connectivity and the complexity. So once we actually connect a carrier through multiple supply chains or multiple distributors out to those sales agents that are then connected to consumers electronically, to disengage us from that process would be very, very hard. It would take years, and it would take several millions of dollars for our competitors to try to attack us in that fashion. So most of them have really just tried to stay within their kind of wheelhouse, the one or two modules that they may support, and to provide services to either customers that we're not well aligned with or in specific niches that we may not go after.
Right. And why did you stay only in the life and annuity space? Why not go into other forms of insurance and use your same platform for that?
What you indicated, and I'll give you different numbers. I mean, I came on board in 2008 with a group of investors, and we bought iPipeline, and we were doing about run rate of about $9 million in revenue. Last year, as you indicated, we finished the year at $170 million. So literally over the last 11 years, we saw the opportunity to take that market leadership position, either by building new technology products or by acquiring other organizations in the marketplace that allowed us to put that straight-through processing platform together. And frankly, we grew so fast over that 11-year time frame, we really didn't have the bandwidth to go outside of the life insurance industry. And as we sit here today, we're still, experiencing double-digit growth. We still have phenomenal opportunities to provide more product and more value propositions. We have expanded a little bit into the financial advisor area with stockbrokers because they are a channel for the life insurance industry. But as you're aware, if you follow the DOL and the Trump's early part of the administration where they struck down the DOL fiduciary laws that Obama had put into place, As I indicated, states have jurisdiction over insurance. It's not regulated at a federal level. And since that DOL law was rejected by Trump, most of the states are out there passing fiduciary responsible laws that apply state by state. So again, that creates a level of complexity, a level of compliance that's extremely important to support with both the agents and really ultimately protecting the consumer to make sure that they're being represented in a very, very honest fashion by the people that sell them these types of products.
Right. Now, you touch upon a few things that led to your fantastic growth of your business. Can you maybe pick the top 3 drivers of your growth that took you from, at least over the last 4 years, from 73 million to 170 million?
Yeah, our number one driver has been our electronic e-app platform, which we call iGo. We have about 70 carriers on that platform. I think we have over 2,000 products that an agent can sell on that platform. And that really allows them to take an application for life insurance or for an annuity-based product, process it electronically, which reduces their sales cycle time. It also reduces the amount of mistakes. A paper form in this industry typically has a 65% error rate. So as carriers looked to adopt technology over the last 5 years, we were one of the primary providers of that technology. And that really propelled a lot of our growth along that one technology set. Coupled with that, about 3 years ago, we invested in an underwriting platform that allows carriers to do more electronically in analyzing client information so that they can then determine mortality rates and pricing of products in the marketplace. We introduced what we believe is the best technology in the marketplace. I think the market has agreed with that because that product has skyrocketed in the number of carriers that have adopted the technology over the last 3 years, and probably been the second fastest growing segment of our business.
Okay, so the first driver is your e-app platform, where you have 70 carriers, 2,000 different products, and it makes it easier for your agents to take an application and submit it and get an answer right away. How quickly does it take for someone to give a quote now using iGo?
Well, iGo's the application level. We do have a quote platform that agents use before they ever get to the application.
Okay.
I think we ran about 170 million comparable quotes last year in the industry, which was probably by far the market leader. And agents can quote products very quickly. They can quote term products, quite frankly, in a couple minutes. If they're selling permanent products like a universal life or a whole life, that may take a little bit longer, but the quoting process really, because we have a multi-carrier quoting platform that allows a agent to run multiple quotes at a time, typically they can turn around fairly sophisticated quotes to customers within an hour or two.
That's pretty fast. So when you submit an application, how quickly does that application get approved or turned back?
Yeah, it varies. You have certain products like term that have actual instantaneous issue provisions where a carrier will literally, be able to issue a policy within the matter of, probably 15, 20 minutes. That's typically when a customer is one very young, typically between probably 25 and 35 years old, excellent health, no medical history. So there's really not much need to do medical underwriting because they're typically buying a term policy that will expire in 10, 20, or 30 years. So the risk of them, dying during that time frame is extremely low, other than an accident. More complex people, the older they get, policies can go up to 50 to 60 days because of medical underwriting requirements. But I would say on average in the United States, we track to about 17 days to get a policy issued when it requires medical underwriting, i.e. you have to give, specimens of urine, blood, and have an EKG done.
Right. And if some agent is out there doing it the old school way, their average turnaround time is not going to be 17 days, I assume.
No, it's typically about 55.
Okay, that's a big difference.
Well, it's a big difference because, one, you risk the client, the customer, getting frustrated that it's taking so long. You've got to schedule a paramed to come to their home or their place of business. They have personal schedules of their own. They may travel a lot. So the more condensed you can keep that sales cycle and keep the customer engaged, the less chance you have of that customer just getting frustrated and dropping out of the buying process, which can happen up to 10, 15% of the time.
Right. Now, who's paying for your service? Is it the carriers that's paying you? Is it the end agencies who's paying you? Who are your paying customers?
Yeah, typically our customers are the carriers and the distributors, and then they provide the technology for the agents to use as part of their employment, benefits or just the tools to do their job so that they sell the products that generate revenue for the distributors and the carriers.
Right. Got it. And the second driver you mentioned was your underwriting platform that allows your carriers to do better pricing. How does that work now?
What happens is that when you have the information that you disclose on a application, which is probably the largest disclosure of metadata you ever get out as a consumer. So I'm going to have your medical history. I'm going to have your earnings history. I'm going to have history about health within your family from a generational standpoint. I'm going to know what your hobbies are. I'm going to know what your vices are. I'm going to get credit card information so I know what you're spending things on that you haven't disclosed to me. I'm going to pull an MRV on your driving record to see if you're a reckless driver. And then those underwriters, and again, carriers differentiate themselves by their ability to do predictive underwriting. Because again, the better job they can do of predicting when you're going to die, they can price that into the product, and that determines their profit stream. So the underwriters will use this technology to basically assimilate millions and millions of records over time to basically build underwriting rules that allow them to build what they would consider to be better estimates of mortality rates, and thus build that into the pricing that they put onto the products when they sell that to you as a consumer.
So this underwriting isn't specific to an individual so much. It's based on collecting data, analyzing it, and then helping them create the rules for them to do their overall pricing.
Well, it is specific to an individual because if I have high blood pressure, like, let's say a million other records, they know what happened to those other million people that had high blood pressure, okay, or diabetes, or cancer, that had been treated with chemo and cured, so they use that information based upon their experience with people with similar health records that they've underwritten over the past 50 years.
Okay, so more than just providing data for analysis, it's actually also used in the pricing of the actual policies for the end consumer.
Yes.
Okay, got it. So you mentioned two drivers of your growth: the e-app platform and underwriting. Is there a third one?
Well, there are several that are coming on very strong as a result of us having all these insurance contracts. We can anomalize the data, and we're starting to do a lot of work from a data analytics standpoint to provide information back to those agents and distributors and carriers to determine what products sell better to what type of demographics, and that could be based upon location from a zip code standpoint. It could be based upon income levels. It could be based upon life events. You've just had your third child, or you've just moved into a much larger house, or you're starting a business, or you have a partner and you have to plan for what happens if one of the two of you in your business should happen to die. How would you pass along the wealth to the other person's family? So a lot of different needs are driven by data. Life insurance products are actually fairly predictable to ascertain when individuals will buy them. So it's a matter of marrying information about people with life events and then using that to put the right product in front of them in the right buying cycle.
Right. Got it.
And, traditionally, that has not been available for this supply chain to take advantage of. It's been more of agents are out there knocking on doors and setting up meetings with families and parents and really creating their own demand in the marketplace.
Right. All right. And you mentioned before that right now you have 70 carriers on your platform. How many other carriers are out there who are not using your platform?
There's about 400 targeted carriers in the United States that we market to. I would say we actually have 130 carriers that we do business with. I just mentioned 70 we're using the One IGO product.
Okay.
Out of the 130 carriers we do business with, they represent about 90% of the market share. So we only have 2 carriers out of the top 100 that we don't do business with. And then the carriers from like 131 through 400 are typically very, very small carriers. So for example, not all carriers are like New York Life or MetLife, where they're multi-billion-dollar corporations. There are carriers as small as the Fraternal Order of Columbus Life, Association, which basically provides life insurance to, police officers in Columbus, Ohio. And that could be an organization that's only 3 or 4 million in revenue.
Okay. And the reason why they're not on your platform is because based on their 3 or 4 million of revenue,
they don't have enough volumes that it makes enough sense to really use technology that they would get the benefits from it.
Okay, and when you talk about volume, what kind of number is that?
Well, you could take an organization like New York Life that may write 800,000 policies a year, and the Fraternal Order of Police Life Unit in Columbus, Ohio may process 40.
Right, I got it. Yeah, that's a big difference there.
Yeah.
Yeah, even though they can save time on that 40, it just doesn't make sense relative to the investment.
Yeah, they probably have one administrator that, over a year can do 40 applications, as well as probably 5 or 6 other job areas of responsibility as well.
Right, got it. So for looking ahead a little bit, say for 2019, what are your plans? What are your targets?
Yeah, our biggest drive in 2019 is twofold. One is that we bought a policy admin platform in the UK, and we're in the process of localizing that into North America. And basically, the policy admin platform is the platform that a carrier would use to basically store the information on your policy, create your bills, store information on claims, and basically the back-end administrative functions of a carrier. Those systems can range anywhere from $1 million a year to, quite frankly, hundreds of millions of dollars a year. We believe it's one of our initiatives that will allow us to double the size of the company again in a 5 to 7 year window. So that's one of our big initiatives. We're actually working with 2 carriers right now about finalizing them buying that technology. So our goal would be to get 2 or 3 carriers on that platform and then really store in the marketplace, because our competitors in that space we think are very vulnerable. And then the other second initiative is continuing to drive our data initiatives. We've really got a lot of opportunity around data analytics and processing a lot of that data and selling valuable information back to not only the agents but the distributors and the carriers. So those are our real 2 big initiatives this year to continue to drive our growth.
So when you say sell it back, you mean it's like another module that they can buy, and that's how you sell it back?
We sell it back as a service, so that we're providing them information that we've gone through and analyzed that data. We've created algorithms to create value out of the information by connecting certain dots together, which gives them the ability to cross-sell and upsell and continue to service their customers in the most effective fashion. It allows them to build better products. They can find out why products aren't moving. Mm-hmm. They have certain complex riders on them that aren't sitting well with the consumers that they may have to take out of products.
Yep.
So it just gives them a wealth of information about buying habits, patterns, and what's going to help them drive their revenue stream.
But it's not bespoke data analytics and data analysis, right? It's something.
No, it's genericized, but it's bespoke to the standpoint that we can benchmark you against the industry.
Right. Okay.
So you can see how you're doing against carrier B, C, or D. You may not know who those carriers are, but you probably could figure it out because everybody in the industry knows everybody.
Yeah, definitely. So now you mentioned before you were targeting 400 carriers in the U.S. You're doing business with 130. Why aren't the other 270 working with you?
Most of them are really small, and so there's only certain products that they have the ability to use or buy. And
Okay.
again, it's just been a matter of our prioritization. I mean, like I said, we've grown so fast over the last 11 years. It's very complex to bring some of these carriers onto these platforms. That IGO platform that I mentioned, it's not uncommon for a large carrier to take 2 or 3 years to get all their products up on that. You know, somebody like a New York Life or a Mass Mutual may want to put hundreds of products on that electronic application.
Right. Okay. And when you say you're marketing to them, how does your marketing work? How do you
Yeah,
market to these guys?
it's funny you ask that, because this is even though the dollars in this industry are in the trillions, the industry is actually very small. As I indicated to you, those 130 carriers control 90% of the market. We've got about 1,500 distributors as customers. And for the most part, this industry is very, very trade show oriented. I think we attend about 50 different trade shows a year. They can be put on by that carrier individually. They can be put on by an IMO or a distributor that houses, sub-distributors underneath them, where they get together and, have their annual meetings or, technology meetings. So we do a lot of one-to-one marketing within those trade organizations. We also are a thought leader, so we're putting on a WebEx typically, once a month or once every 2 months, demonstrating a solution that we've accomplished with another customers that we know our other customers would have an interest in. We do, newsletters. We do a lot of C-level executive meetings. We run an annual advisory board. We run an annual CIO board where we take 25 of the leading executives off-site and go through strategies with them for a couple days. So it's really a high-touch environment in this sales environment.
Okay. Now, I took a look at your online marketing presence. I saw 0 pay-per-click ads running on your company website domain, and not a whole lot of SEO work as well. Are those marketing channels just something that's not relevant for who you're trying to reach out to?
It really isn't relevant because everybody in the industry knows who we are. So typically, if they have a need, even though they may want a competitive analysis done and they'll invite other parties to the table, it would be very unusual for us not to be invited to a technology opportunity where either a distributor or a carrier is making a decision.
Right. Got it.
Like I said, it's a really small industry. Everybody knows one another. Many of these people that work at carriers, their entire career path has been, through the carrier ranks. So they may have worked with 5 or 6 carriers over their career time frame. And the distributors all support multiple carriers. So all the distributors know the carriers and they know each other because, a distributor may jump families between, marketing organizations. So it's not hard to market in this vertical.
Right. Got it. In terms of obstacles, opportunities, strengths, what do you see, over the next 1 year or maybe even a bit longer, 5 years? What obstacles do you see that you need to overcome? What opportunities do you see that you want to grab? What strengths does your platform has that you want to further leverage?
Yeah, I would say our biggest challenges, they're not necessarily obstacles, they're just challenges, is first of all, finding people. It is a very tight labor market. It has been for over 1.5 years. We're actually starting for the first time, starting to see major salary escalations for technical people, whereby you may be paying somebody $65,000 and somebody else will hire them for $100,000. So the resource pool is very, very tight right now in the marketplace. I will tell you that, most technology companies have turnover rates in the low 20 percentile range right now. Ours is literally running around 12. So we're proud of our culture and our turnover. But, as we look out over the next 5 years and we continue to want to grow and attract people, finding great people is, going to be one of our biggest challenges to continue to execute to. The other big challenge is security. The hacking community has just figured out, I think, over the past 2 years, how valuable and the plethora of information that organizations like ourselves and carriers and distributors have on their consumers. As I indicated to you, that application is the richest disclosure of metadata that you ever make as a consumer at one point in your life. And hackers really are dying to get their fingers on that type of data to sell. So we spend a fortune. We run security audits. We use third parties, really making sure that we have the most secure environment possibly in the marketplace. We're state of the art on everything, and again, we've got to continue to invest there. And these guys are always one step ahead of everybody else. So you've got to constantly assess what's going on from a security standpoint with these hackers in the dark web. And then I think from an opportunity standpoint, it's just the ability to take our product suite, especially some of our new products. I talked about policy, administrative services. We talked a little bit about underwriting and how that's exploding for us. We didn't talk about things like document delivery. Believe it or not, less than 1% of all insurance policy and correspondence in this industry is done electronically. So we've introduced an electronic document delivery platform about 2 or 3 years ago. We've got about 25 carriers on that platform now, and that's another product line that continues to do extremely well for us. So our focus is always around how can we provide more value to our customers? What are their pain points? Where do they need help? And as long as we can do that and provide them a cost-effective solution, they'll continue to buy from us.
Right. In regards to the document delivery, is it more of a regulatory type issue that you're facing where they're required to deliver stuff in writing?
It's not regulatory at all. It's just efficiencies. I mean, it costs the average carrier probably about $50 to deliver you your insurance policy, because what happens is today most of those carriers have to print those policies out from a mainframe computer. They then have to be collated manually because they don't come out in an orderly fashion. They're then copied. Several copies are bound. They typically may keep one. Typically today they're imaging that. They then ship those down to the distributor. The distributor will look at them. They may add some of their own marketing material to them. They'll keep a copy, and they may image a copy. Then they give it to the agent. Agent's going to do the same thing. He's going to add his marketing material to it. He's going to make a copy of it or image it, and then ultimately he's going to get in his car and go deliver that to the end user customer who bought from him. So all that's done. You can think about how long it takes, what the postage costs are, what the printing costs are, the collation costs. And if you could just create a PDF file and put it on our platform, we can deliver it not only securely, but we also have techniques where we can potentially upsell the customer when we deliver that policy. And basically store it for them. So there's a lot of advantages to it. This industry has just historically been 20 years behind the rest of the financial services industry.
So there's nothing other than inertia keeping them from moving on to a paperless model.
Yeah, it's inertia caused by human behavior. I like to say that the bell curve for a cell phone was probably 1.5 to 2 years. Early adoption, mainstream, and then, late stage, getting off of it. I would say that the bell curve in this industry is typically about, 25 years, where you're at 7 years on early adoption, 10 years mainstream, and then 7 years to get off of it. And that's probably not much of an exaggeration.
Right. Now, you mentioned before the challenges with hiring people. What are your plans on overcoming that challenge?
Well, I mean, all you can do is everything possible. One is, you've got to get out and make sure that people are aware of what you're doing in the marketplace. We've got 11 locations throughout North America, Canada, and the UK. So we've become very flexible on, where you can work geographically. We do try to hire about 30% of our new hires every year are college grads. Those are a little bit easier to obtain than experienced workforce people. So it's really just a mixed bag of, providing the right benefits, the right work environment, having the right culture, creating, an environment where the work they do has true purpose, and they can see that. So again, I think, historically we've been really good at it. We just have to continue to execute as it gets harder and harder to find these people.
Do you do your recruiting all in-house, or do you turn to recruitment firms to help you?
We do all of our recruiting in-house with our own recruiters. I believe that if you're hiring a lot of people, it's better to control your own destiny than to outsource it to a third party that doesn't necessarily share your same values or your same objectives.
Right. So how many people do you have right now on your team?
We have about 700, and we're hiring about 100 people a year.
And when you mentioned before how one of your one of your product lines that you acquired in the UK that you're rolling out can potentially double your business. Are you expecting that you have double the employees as well?
Yeah, this year actually, depending upon how that goes, that 100 could be 150 to 180 if we really get that PAS system incorporated into a couple key contracts.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you find that the people you hired generally are a good fit, or you find that maybe a year later that they might not have been the best hire for the way your industry works?
No, we're pretty good at it. We really track behavioral attributes to make sure that we're hiring the right type of people that fit within our organization. Typically, if they don't come from within the industry, it is a good 9-month learning curve for them to get up to speed. Mm-hmm. And the key thing is to provide them, as much great training as we can during that 9-month time frame, so that they feel like they can make a contribution, while they learn the industry.
Right. Got it. 3 last questions for you. If you were to have a billboard, it sounds like you don't really need one because the industry isn't that big and everyone knows everyone else. But if you were to have a billboard, what would be your billboard message?
Oh, boy. It would probably be something like iPipeline delivers the highest value proposition of technology to the insurance and financial services industry. Come see us.
All right. That's a lot of words to fit on a billboard.
Yeah, I know. Well, you ask a question I've never really given much thought to because I've never had a billboard.
Yeah. Well, when you're ready, I guess you have something ready to go now.
Well, I have a starting point. Let's just say it sounds like it needs a lot of polish.
Yeah. Or maybe you just say iPipeline. That might be good enough since people already know you guys. So.
Right.
So final 2 questions. Who are your ideal strategic partners, and what's the best way for them to contact your company?
Yeah, our ideal strategic partners are really organizations that are really trying to support life insurance and annuity sales, and do it by using technology, and really believe in enabling their workforce with technology. And that literally, as I stated early in the conversation, covers a gambit of organizations. It's not only, carriers like household names like, Nationwide Insurance and Pac Life and Hartford. It's also distribution companies that you may or may never heard of, like BB&T and Highland Capital, and marketing organizations like LifeMark or Bramco. And then you get into the broker-dealer space, where some of our largest, value propositions are with organizations like LPL and Raymond James and Morgan Stanley. And then there's a whole tier below them that are, smaller financial distributors that, again, there's a couple thousand of them in the United States that you may never heard of. So those are the organizations that we have tremendous value propositions to. And like I said, it's a very old school industry, in that we see most of these people at trade shows. But again, if they wanted to reach us, I would just say pick up the phone and call us. We still answer our phones here. We don't use automation to do that. We want to make sure if a customer calls in, we get them on the first touch. I believe in that. And if not, just drop us an email. We'll respond immediately to it.
All right. Would you like to share your phone number and or your email address, or even your web address?
Yeah, my email address, I'll take anything. I answer my phone all the time. It's my email address is twallace@ipipeline.com. And my direct dial is 484-870-6222.
All right. It's great to be accessible. So you have to let me know how many people call you as a result of this podcast.
You may be my new worst enemy or my new best friend. I don't know which.
Yeah, we'll find out. All right. Well, it's been great speaking with you, Tim, and learning about how you grew iPipeline so fast.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And I wish you the most success in your future as well.
Thanks, Tim. We've been speaking with Tim Wallace, the CEO of iPipeline, about his company's rapid growth. For interviews with other fast-growing, high-value sales companies, or to learn how we can accelerate your firm's high-value sales through automation, visit eversprint.com.